أخي هيفا خرجت.
معلش
I
I
think.
think يب انتي تنجم تحكي معها على الواتساب توا؟
ماسنجر كويسي أما ممكن تقطع الترجمة.
اوكي يعني جوست هكا كويك تشيك حتى خليلها جوست ميساج باش نعرفو اسكو فما ان بروبليم دو كونيكسيون باش نوخرو شوية معناها في اللونسمون نتاع اللايف ولا لا.
Normalement, c'est bon, on a un site live à YouTube.
D'accord. Merci beaucoup, Amy. دونك عسلامة ومرحبا بكم الناس الكل. اليوم معنا انفيتي سبيسيال اللي هي هيفا ستيري، اون جون في دو 23 ans وعملت اون كارير بالحق اكستراوردينير. شي از سو انسبايرينغ. دونك باش نستناو مع بعضنا 2 à 3 minutes حتى كشي نبداو الناس الكل حاضرين، ويبداو سورتو اور دير كومبيتيتورز تاع هالت برايز ات اي اس جي يبداو حاضرين باش كيكا نجمو نبداو السيسيون تاعنا.
دونك هيفا باش دخلت توا جوست عشان صارت لها مشكلة في الكونيكسيون. أما she's gonna join now.
D'accord. Parfait. Donc, نتصور نبداو بعد 3 minutes.
I was terrified. هم زالوا العباد.
عسلامة مرحبا. جوست العباد راه مش يكونوا البارتيسيبنت مش يكونوا معنا شي زوم، باش يكونوا باش يتفرجوا فينا في اللايف على ايفاي ولا على اليوتيوب.
باهي دونك نحن تو ديجا لايف خاطر I have some questions.
احنا سي بون توا في اللايف.
Can I ask my questions?
Yeah, sure.
How can I interact with the participants? خاطر I have exercises and I have things that would معناتها necessitate لي هما يكونوا a little bit interactive معايا or engaged in any way, shape or form.
تحبهم يحكيوا ولا تنجم with messages ولا تحبهم they join us في الزوم؟
والله usually I prefer كأنهم يبدأوا موجودين خاطر I can push them to talk. surtout كيف تبدأ معناتها a video conference it's a little bit distant. donc nudging them to talk might help make the session more interactive. Par contre معناتها whatever you judge best ما نحبش نبدل your entire model of working. This is why I'm asking.
I think we can give the Zoom link to the participants and they can join us اللي نجموا اللي عندهم معناها Zoom توا. What do you think we can do it? right?
Yep, if technically نجمو نعملوها توا so we can do it. أما كيما قالت أيه معناها فما عباد اللي apparemment ما ينجموش يدخلوا معناها توا معانا على الزوم خاطر احنا مستانسين ديما نعملوا معناتها يبعثونا لي كيسيون نتاعهم ولا يخليهم في كومنتير على اليوتيوب but it's a good idea. نستدعاو العباد نجمو يجيو والعباد الآخرين توا يحطونا دي كومنتير ولا دي كيسيون وإحنا توا نوصلوهم لك هيفا.
That would be very helpful.
C'est bon?
Yes,
Perfect.
thank you so much.
هيفا نجمو نبداو لو طون اللي هو معناتها قاعدين ندخلو باش هكاكا ما يصيرش معناها ديكالاج ولا حاجة.
Bien sûr, sans problème. B.
So again مرحبا بكم الناس الكل. ميرسي بوكو ايفي بور سيت اوبورتونيتي اللي عطيتونا معناتها البلاتفورم تاعكم باش نجمو نعديو عليها لي زيفينمون تاعنا الكل تابعين هالت برايس. سبيشال ثانك يو لهيفا بالحق ميرسي بوكو خاطر جيتنا اليوم باش تعملنا سيسيون على ديزاين ثينكينغ. كيف معناتها اليوم باش الكومبيتيتورز نتاعنا باش يكونوا حاضرين في وسط الكل هذايا. دونك مرحبا بكم الناس الكل اللي جيتوا وبالنسبه للعباد اللي ما تنجمش تدخل معنا توا على زوم نجموا تخليوا لي كيسيون نتاعكم في الكومنتير في وسط يوتيوب. So hi again هيفا.
Hi, everyone. I'm assuming that's great.
هيفا سامحني بهاللي صوتك ما تعديش دونك كنت نجم تعاود تقولنا شنو قلت.
قلت لكم عسلامة. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Great. Give me a cue and we'll start.
D'accord. Donc, c'est bon, partagez le lien Zoom مع participants, partagez le live, so those who can join us على Zoom مرحبا اللي تفرجوا فينا في اللايف توا. سينون اللي ما ينجمش c'est pas grave ينجم كما قالت وئام يكتب
قلت لكم عسلامة. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. This is Haifa.
That's weird. I said that a while ago.
d'accord.
en fait كريم توا كي دخل معنا ابارامون الميكرو نتاعو محلول دونك سمعنا يعني الصوت نتاع هيفا اللي جاي من اليوتيوب so it's okay مش مشكلة يصيروا.
D'accord.
Go ahead ايه كمل.
juste d'accord. اللي قاعدين نتفرجوا فينا توا في اللايف على اليوتيوب ولا على ايفي كنت نجموا you join us for more interaction مرحبا على زوم. ديجا قاعدين يدخلوا توا سينو اللي ما ينجموش سي با غراف كالعاده تنجموا تكتبوا لنا الكويشنز نتاعكم الكومنتس اي حاجه تحبوا تعملوها سواء على الشات يافي سواء على اليوتيوب. جو بريفير يوتيوب اسهل. D'accord. Donc, guys, can you, pour le moment, unmute yourself حتى لين تبدأ تبدأ ال questions ولا interaction مع our guest speaker. مش unmute, mute plutôt. En fait, هيفا عندك باركور ياسر طيارة ياسر انسبيرون. دونك بالحق ماذا بيا كان تبدا تحكي على الباركور نتاعك. نحبوا نعرفوك اكثر، نعرفوا هيفا اش عملت وكل، خاطر بالحق قريت برشا ديزارتيكل على الباركور نتاعك و it was so inspiring بالحق.
عايشك ايه. honestly it's always difficult for me to talk about myself خاطر خاطر بصراحة ما نعرفش بالضبط منين نبدأ، وما نعرفش شكوني أنا في عينين العبد اللي قرأ عليا. Each article is honestly different. و as you know, each article displays a certain image of a person اللي هما عادة the media wants to display. Donc, personally, I think I'm just, I'm 23-year-old right now. I'm going to be 23 in December. I work at the UNDP. I'm a youth and innovation analyst at the UNDP. I'm an innovation enthusiast. That's something I do and I love for sure. I started my first startup when I was 18 years old. It's called IntraCrash. That's probably where you read about me in the articles. It was supposed to be the first online incubator in the MENA region for startups. والفكرة كانت initialement اللي people my age back then who wanted to start businesses didn't know where to start. Back in the days, obviously in 2016, the incubators and the accelerators that we have right now were not that visible, were not that many. Donc that was my first business idea. I'm preparing to launch my second business idea soon after this experience that I had at the UNDP. And well, in a nutshell, I think of myself as a strategic innovator. That's my niche.
Perfect. Merci beaucoup, Haifa. Nash, if you're gonna share a PPT with us.
Yes. So
now.
Just give me a cue to start and I'm gonna start right away.
D'accord. I think نجم توا you share معناها.
Fantastic. Okay, عادة I start by the presentation before presenting myself. This time
it was special.
The other way around. I've been honored by the Hult team to be invited with you today to talk to you a bit about design thinking. Donc, what I was telling you is who I am, obviously. Again, I'm a social innovator and a strategic innovation designer. And I currently serve at the UNDP, اللي هي the United Nations Development Program, وإلا برنامج الأمم المتحدة الإنمائي as a youth and innovation analyst. My work is mainly R&D, research and development. It consists in bringing new ideas to life for the UNDP that have a social purpose. And I enjoy it, pretty much enjoy it a lot. Before I start, I want to know about you, اللي معانا في الزوم اليوم واللي معانا في يوتيوب و I'm assuming اللي معانا في ذا زادة. Donc it would mean the world if you go to www.menti.com and use the code that you see on the screen, 2989626.
So guys, I'm sharing with you a link والcode في الجروب متاعنا.
ثانية لحظة بركة. Apparently the code changed. Donc باش نحلها لكم من هنا to see the new code.
D'accord.
Yes, feel free to start answering. اللي دخل feel free to start answering.
هيفا I have question. احنا توا في المنتي.com معناها باش نستناو كل كيستيون، معناها العباد الكل يعني تحط الانسرز نتاعها وبعد تعديو الكيستيون اللي بعدها، سي سا؟
Yep, precisely.
بيرفكت.
بون مش العباد الكل، منعرفش خاطر قداش من عبد عنا الكل في الكل، لما كيف نخلطوا العدد معين نتحركوا.
داكور اوكي.
Let's say 9. When we have 9 answers, well, entre 6 to 9 answers, we move forward.
بيرفكت. اوكي دوكي.
Great. We have Japan, Italy, any country in Asia, which is an interesting answer. Deutschland, Italia, to exotic fairy-like Asian countries like Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, Taiwan. We have Austria, and we have the very well elaborated answer. I would go to France or Denmark. I have friends and relatives there, and I was actually planning on going there last summer, but then the coronavirus happened. So I'm so sorry. I had plans too, and the coronavirus didn't help anyone actually. So the ones who answered to exotic fairy-like Asian countries, can you elaborate, please? That's a vast number of countries. Why? And I don't know where you are. If you're in AV or YouTube, I'm guessing you can leave comments, right? If you're here, you can speak right away. We have any country in Asia? Same question, actually. Deutschland, fantastic. Austria, why Austria? Austria is an interesting answer. We have Canada, we have Bali. Everyone needs a trip to Bali right now, I assume. South Korea.
Hey, Haifa. It's me who wrote the fairy-like country.
عسلامة كلثوم.
عسلامة, Haifa.
Hey?
So I want to go on like a tour, a whole like traveling tour to Asian countries. Basically معناها هذوكم اللي بحضر بعضهم. على خاطر it's always been a dream معناها of mine to discover the Asian culture. So yeah, like I wish like I had like all the travel restrictions like lifted and also like super huge amount of money to do all of these countries.
Magnificent. Well, Japan و South Korea, they are expensive for sure. Indonesia, Thailand و Taiwan تنجم تدبر راسك شوية.
Yep.
Great. If there isn't anyone else who's here and can talk, or any comments on eBay or YouTube, I think we can move forward to the next question. فما شكون يحب يحكي لنا على البلاصة اللي يحب يسافر لها؟
En fait هيفا انا حطيت بيرو. بيرو تو سامبلومون خاطر قبل كنت ديما نحب نمشي لها، ووقت اللي معناتها سي بون باش نمشي لها جات كوفيد، دونك بالحق توا ماذا بيا يعني تتنحى كوفيد ونمشي لبيرو ان شاء الله. تعجبني على الاخر، وسورتو فيها معناها منظر ياسر محليه اللي في الجبل اللي ترى معناتها قدامك يعني اش نقولوا لها هي فيلاج حاسيلو صغير تراديسيونيل، بالحق منظر ياسر محليه. So that's why حطيت بيرو.
Oh, that's lovely. Have you heard apparemment اليوم it's trending worldwide فما كلاش مع البوليس نعاش عليه in Peru زاد.
لا
You should you should check it out. I'm sorry bringing up these news. أنا شفتها الصباح خاطر.
لا مش فاهم بعد بالحق. خليني توا نحب بيرو كيما اللي في مخي.
خليك في ماتشو بيتشو توا حتى لين عمرها بدلي. Great. Thank you everyone who have participated. ما عندناش comments ولا عندنا comments.
دونك ما عندناش comments على اليوتيوب. لهنا privately start answering. ما عندناش نورمالمون لهنا زادا في الانستا في الزوم.
Magnificent. Okay, next question then. Who would you rather meet? This is one of my favorites. Great. شكون جاوب نمر المقنع ولماذا؟
En fait أنا جاوبت النمر المقنعة، ما الحقيقة ما عنديش لماذا، جوست خاطر هو نعرفه والآخر ما نعرفوش. تسبونيش جماعة اللي يحبوا الهنيم.
هزيم الرعد ليه؟
هذيك هزيم الرعد. En fait نتذكر أنا صغيرة تفرجت فيه، من بعد نسيت. أما تذكرت النمر المقنع.
ايه هو نمر المقنع أقدم شوية من هزيم الرعد، من هزيم الرعد كمام هزيم الرعد. شكون جاوب هزيم الرعد؟ and why is it? I can start. So the main reason الحق ما جاوبتش أما I would have كان جاوبت راني حطيت هزيم الرعد. And the main reason why I would do that is because he was my first crush ever. He was my childhood crush. ونتفكر دون لو طون كنت نغير من يظهر لي مرته، هي ما جامي يقولوا لنا في سبيس تون شنو طبيعة العالق. أما I'm assuming it's his wife. Donc yeah, I used to love هزيم الرعد على الآخر. كلثوم قالت لك هزيم الرعد خاطر the anime has a great powerful song. That too. The song is also part of it. Noor, he is handsome. I know, right? It's weirdly handsome خاطر بصراحة توا in retrospect looking at him, he's okay. Definitely not worth all the crush I had on him when I was a child. Great. Thank you everyone for answering. كان فما حتى عبد آخر عنده une raison un peu bizarre ويدي يحب يشاركها معنا. We can move forward. And I'll give it a 1, 2.
Bon, I join أي لما حالة. Guys, I am sorry. أما كي كنت صغيرة بالحق ما تفرجتش برشا في سبيس تون. So هزيم الرعد نعرفه خاطر أصحابي يحبوه. وعجبني معناه بالتصوير، عجبني النمر المقنع. So هداك علاش اخترته.
En fait هايفا فما شكون قال لك مرته ماتت زاده.
Entre parenthèses. The next question would be, if my connection allows it. Why did you participate in Hult Prize? Usually I'm very interested in this question, mainly to know the type of people I'm working with, your motivations. Why are you interested in this? Are you interested in the theme itself متاع السنة? The idea of Hult Prize? نعرفش dans le temps يظهر لي فما there were a possibility of traveling. I don't know if it's still there سنة ولا لا with all what's happening in COVID. Are you interested in the money, the prize itself, the accelerator, the new hub اللي اتعمل في تونس? What exactly interests you in Hult Prize? Great. So some people are here to live a new experience. So they're interested in the journey itself. That's a lovely answer. Some people are here to win the money, very legitimate. Some people are here because they want to change the world and support the people changing the world. Some people are here because they want to acquire new skills and abilities. Some people are here because of the trainings themselves, no pressure. That's a lot of pressure moving forward into one of the trainings. Some people are here because in the past 2 years, I've met a lot of students in their universities who have a great innovative ideas, but they don't know how to make it real. And they had the lack of confidence. And so they were looking for an opportunity to make it. So are you part of the organization team or are you participating this year?
I have a feeling إنها we aim, I'm not sure.
Hey.
Great.
Oh.
ما شفتها وإيم قبيلة تكتب. Donc I was expecting something that long, to be honest. The level of concentration اللي حطيته في الكتيبة can only be reflected in this. Thank you إيم. Really appreciate it.
En fait هاي فحبيت نكمل نكتب مي الاسباس كان ليميتي فهمت دونك ديجا ما كملتش كتبت قلت توا اذا كان جو في الابوغي معناها عليها الحكايه من بعد ولا
Feel free. If you want to elaborate, feel free.
Yeah, so شنية معناها الحكاية دونك كيما كتبت يعني بالحق عندي عامين وأنا قاعدة في برشا صحاب دايوغ توا ولاو صحابي معناها عندهم بالحق دي زيدي إنوفونت على الآخر أما ديما فما جملة نسمعها ديما تتعاود هي مثلا ما عندناش لي مويان والا ما عندناش لي ريسورس والا امبوسيبل كان تخطف حاسيلو معناتها يحطوا ديما في دي باريير لرواحهم كانت ديما الريفليكشن نتاعي يجيني وقلت معناها تصور لو كان نحطوا مايند سيت جديد تصور لو كان معناها العباد اللي قابلتهم الكل يأمنوا برواحهم ويحاولوا معناتها يعطيوا ما عندهم باش لي زيدي اللي عندهم يوليو دي بروجي كونكري وينجموا يخلطوا بهم البليد ياسر بعد كي جات هالت برايز بالحق حسيتها معناها كيما معناها this sign ليا أنا باش ناخد معناها this initiative وبالطبيعة أنا والأو سي تيم الكل بالحق thank you very much guys for being here ونعملوا هات برايز ISG في الفاك متاعنا so هذه هي معناتها what inspired me باش ناخد معناها this kind of initiative ونخدموا معناتها مع بعضنا إن شاء الله ال OnCampus program في ISG.
Magnificent. Thank you so much, VM. Thank you for sharing. And finally, people are here to live a new experience and ameliorate their competence and soft skills and improve their personalities. By the way, I'm quite sure personality is perfect, doesn't need any improvement, FYI. Fantastic. Now let's move to the last question before we dig deep into the topic. And don't worry, we'll be perfectly on time. The next question is, what do you think when you first hear design thinking? What was your first impression? What was the first thing you heard? Did you feel like it didn't make sense that you have a design-oriented training in a business competition? Did you already know what it was? Okay, so we got a lot of creativity, we got a lot of ideation, a lot of mind mapping, a lot of brainstorming, ideas, elaboration, gestion d'innovation, pertinent solutions, and imagination, strategy, empathy. That's a great answer. Brain, solutions for problems, new ideas, art. Wow. Oh, and there's target. Interesting. That's a very interesting map of answers and word cloud, to be honest. There's a lot of, let's say, creativity, artistic lingo in there, but at the same time, you have some business lingo like strategy, targets, and things in the middle like ideas. That's brilliant. Anyone wants to share with us why do they think what they think when they hear design thinking? I'll take that's a no.
I think so.
Great. So today we're going to discover together what design thinking is for real. This is also an introductory training, meaning that what you'll see today are the basics, and then it will be up to you eventually to dig deeper using some platforms that I'll share with you eventually. So before we move forward into what design thinking is, maybe it is worth noting that innovation doesn't equal design thinking. Some people make this misunderstanding. Maybe I would say because design thinking became quite popular in Tunisia in the recent years, and also all over the world, to be honest. But then again, it is not the one way to get to everything. Innovation is a huge set of tools that is in 4 different clouds. We can organize them in 4 different categories. The first one would be the talent space, where you are more focused on empowering people. The second would be the solution space, where you are trying to shape reality. The third would be the intelligence space, where you're trying to understand reality. And the third and the final space would be the technology space, where you're enabling action using different types of technology. Usually, to get to any sort of idea, for you to be able to ideate new and novel solutions to the problem that you're asking to solve, you'd need a set of all of this mixed up together. You wouldn't need one tool specifically that you're going to implement to get your solution. Design thinking falls perfectly between 2 spaces, the intelligence space, where we're trying to understand reality, and the solution space, where we're trying to shape reality. And this is mainly why a lot of business people focus on it when they're trying to bring new solutions to a specific problem in business, because it helps you at the same time understand where you're living, understand your customer, but also it has a toolkit of methodologies and a toolkit of tools that would help you to shape your reality and shape your solution, shape your product. If you're interested in this sort of wholesome view of innovation, I'll be ready to share it with you, Wiem or Aya, and I'll make sure they will send it forward to all of you. Now, design thinking is an interactive process, an iterative process. This is the first thing that you need to keep in mind, the fact that it's iterative, in which we seek to understand the user, precisely why it falls into understanding the reality, the first space, challenge the assumptions, the business assumptions that we already have about a specific problem, redefine that problem, because now that we challenged the assumptions and we understood the user, most probably the problem that we are going to find and face is completely different from the first initial problem that we thought was the thing that we wanted to solve. And so we do all of this in an attempt to identify alternative strategies and solutions that might not be instantly apparent with our initial level of understanding. It is worth assuming that the first problem that you have in mind is not the one that you need to work on. it's always going to need an iterative process to be able to constantly ideate new solutions and redefine your problem until you fall perfectly onto the one thing that helps your user the best. At the same time, you can think of design thinking as a toolkit, as I said, that provides a solution-based approach to solving problems. It is a way of thinking and working, as well as a collection of hands-on methods. To sum it up, it's thinking and acting like a designer. Usually a designer, they don't spend a lot of time thinking. They move directly into the action. The first idea that they have in mind, they try to prototype it fast and dirty. And then from there, they iterate and iterate and iterate until they end up with the final solution or product. What you need to keep in mind in design thinking is the fact that it's a human-centered approach. So you can in no way, mean, shape, or form be brainstorming a solution to your problem without interacting with your end user, without interacting with the people who are going to use your product or use your solution. You cannot move forward with pitching an idea in front of judges without first testing it in front of the people that you're claiming are going to buy it or claiming they're going to use it. From this, the second point that's worth noting is that it's an iterative process. As I said before, you don't have an end product. You don't have a final solution. You're always iterating and you're always making sure that the next thing you're going to come up with is better than the last one. And the third point that's worth keeping in mind is that it has been around for almost 50 years, since the 1980s. Now, some people claim that design thinking has been around before that, since the 1920s. However, it has never been theorized until that has been done by Stanford Design School in the 1980s. And so before we move forward, I want to ask you, the one who are here on the call right now, or the one who are watching us on YouTube or eBay, based on this kind of broad definition, who is the business person that comes to mind that used this approach early on?
I think we can start with eBay.
Is that an answer, or are we looking at people on eBay?
لا ليها en fait بديت نخدم مع eBay عندها قريب عامين وقبل en fait مش نعمان اللي السي او نتاع ايفاي كي جاتو ليدي مشى ديريكت خدمها وقبل البلاتفورم ما كانتش هكا جمله كانت تخيف هكا كانت خايبه معناها وبعديك قعد بشويه تتصلح كل مره يسال عبيد في كل ايفنت يعمل سيرفي حتى لين البلاتفورم بالحق ولات باهيه ومازال قاعده تتصلح.
Fantastic. Shout out to Nauman for that. I know he's a great businessman. Anyone else? More, let's say, more on a broader scale, on a continental, worldwide scale. Who's dead since 2011? That started his first products in the 1980s, which falls perfectly in line with the time that the design thinking theory has been theorized. No answers? Okay, so the person I had in mind was actually Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was one of the first people who applied design thinking in their business approaches. He's one of the first people who actually mapped out what the end user needs in technology by bringing a more user-friendly surface and a more user-friendly design to technologies that at the time have been quite overwhelming for the average user, helping mainstream the things that we use today and mainstream the technologies that we take for granted. So moving forward is, I assume, yes, sorry, we have a question. Okay, so I'm sorry, I forgot the ones in the chat. So Abdulaziz said Elon Musk. Can you please elaborate? How does Elon Musk use design thinking in his day-to-day life and businesses? Okay, so Abdulaziz, whenever you have your answer ready, VM or Aya, please let me know and we get back to it. Now, I'm quite sure a lot of you are asking probably why design thinking. Some of you still have the question lingering in your head. Some of you have got some answers from what I have been saying before. But mainly, if there's one thing you need to keep in mind, it's because it falls perfectly within what we need to innovate in our ideas and in our products. Mainly because design thinking offers us the focus on the end user, meaning the human aspect of things, here expressed as desirability. So your product needs to be desirable. It needs to be wanted and desired by your customers. The feasibility, so the technical part, this is why we move forward directly into prototyping. We try to prototype fast and dirty to test whether the product and the idea that we have is technically feasible or not. And finally, you bring into it the business aspect, which is mostly related to the economic viability of your product. And if you strike this very rare balance between these 3 points, that is what we call innovation. And therefore, you can think of design thinking as a way, a bunch of methods that would help you innovate with your ideas and innovate with your products. It also activates both parts of your brain, the creative part, the intuitive, the artistic, the creative, the part that is operating with feelings and imaginations, and the part that has more to do with the logic and analysis and ideas and facts and maths and training. Mainly because, as we said, it's a set of tools, and these tools fall perfectly between both these aspects. Some of them need you to work more on your creative side, and some of them demand that you use analytics and analysis to be able to come out with the research that you need to prototype your product. And if any of us, anytime or any day, wants to use this approach and appropriate it and adopt it in their entrepreneurial journey, it is worth mentioning that it's a set of 2 things. The first thing would be that you need a mindset shift. You need to incorporate the design thinking mindsets. And the second part that we're getting to eventually would be to get more and more familiar with the tools, the design thinking tools and the design thinking methods that you can simply apply. The first part for me is the most important, because if you're not in the right mindset, it's going to be really hard for you to apply the tools correctly. And therefore, we want to try switching into this mindset collectively and together. But before, let's have a look on them. The first thing would be to be empathetic. So shout out to the person who wrote empathetic in the words cloud that we had earlier. It is very important that you're empathetic with your end user, that you're not trying to judge them, that you're not trying to find the problems in their day-to-day life, but to think like them, to put yourself in their shoes and to feel what they feel, to be able to answer and cater to their needs correctly. The second thing would be to iterate as much as possible. I'm quite sure I repeated this multiple times, a bazillion times by now, but it's only because it's very important. You should not fall in love with an idea. Never, ever, ever, ever. You should not fall in love with a prototype. Never, ever, ever. Because that's never going to be the end thing. It's always a work in progress. The third point is be comfortable working under constraints. بجميع أنواعهم. Constraints involve financial constraints. They involve the lack of human resources. They involve hitting a lot of walls. مختلف أنواع walls, and this is probably what an entrepreneurial journey looks like. And I'm quite sure in the upcoming days and months, you're going to face that a lot. So you need to be completely comfortable with the idea of working under those constraints and finding different and alternative ways and solutions to work under those constraints. And so I'm going to try and test that on you right now. I'm going to ask you to help me out with this activity. We're all going to go now to Mentimeter, menti.com, the same place that we used to be at, and we're going to think collectively of 3 disadvantages with elastic arms. Imagine that you have elastic arms, and so elastic arms, by elastic we mean that they can go really far and come back really fast. مش ضرورة معناتها بلاستيك، مش بلاستيك، أنا إلاستيك، يمشيوا بعيد ويرجعوا فليكسيبل، طوال ويرجعوا بسهولة وبخفة ورشاقة. نحبوا نخموا في 3 حاجات خايبة، 3 disadvantages لوجود هاليدين الإلاستيك هذوما. فاش ينجموا يقلقونا في حياتنا اليومية اليدين الإلاستيك؟ Anything that comes to mind, you don't need to overthink it. Great. So some of you think that they look weird. Some of you think that they're zombies shaped. Some of you looked more at their functionalities and said that they cannot lift things. Some of you said that you can't control them. Again, the inability to hold things. They're slow. It probably causes pollution. They hurt. They're out of control. They're supernatural. They're not beautiful. Fawda, and they're weird again. It's interesting. The pollution answer is honestly interesting because I'm thinking of where exactly how could they be a cause of pollution, and then my mind is going really far thinking about that. It's a very interesting answer. Thank you, everyone. Oh, you can't work out. Well, that's also a very creative answer that I received for the first time in forever. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who have participated in this. It means a lot that you're still engaged. The next question would be 3 advantages of elastic arms. Now, as we said before, it is important that your thinking is iterative. It's important that you don't fall in love with the ideas that you had. It's important that you can work under constraints, even if those constraints mean that you shift paradigms completely. we no longer need your thoughts on the disadvantages of elastic arms. Imagine that the entire circumstances that you're put within have drastically changed, and now what's expected from you is to think about advantages of elastic arms. And go. Great. So some people said they look unique, they make you unique, they're special. A lot of people said that you would be hugging yourself, huge hugs, a lot of hugs here and there. Honestly, that would be very useful during these lonely times. Very, very useful. Moving things while sitting, absolutely. I'm a lazy person and I can relate to that. No need to leave your place. Absolutely again. You can slap while you are sitting. That's interesting. You can have everything easily, it reduces time, you can scratch your back. Yes, correct. What else do we have here? Oh, you would be like Luffy? Yeah, I think Luffy is the inspiration behind this question to begin with. Doing gymnastics, protects from accidents, and a lot of very interesting other answers. Thank you so much, again, everyone who has participated in this. And as you have probably noticed, you have been able to shift mindsets pretty much immediately on a whim when asked to. So I'm thinking that you're going to do great moving forward, and you're ready now to move to the next step of the training, which is more related to the substance and content itself. Now, it is worth noting that design thinking has a diversity of models. There's not one way to practice design thinking, and anyone who claims so is wrong. Mainly because a lot of schools and a lot of places and a lot of corporations and a lot of academians have theorized design thinking throughout the years. And so you ended up with a lot of methods, a diversity of models, and a lot of theories. In here, you would find the most famous ones. So you have the double diamond diagram, you have the model that has been completely designed by IBM, you have the Stanford Design School, you have the George Design Sprint process that's used mainly by engineers. But the one that we're going to focus on today, because A, it's the oldest, and B, it's the most popular, is the Stanford Design School thinking process. The Stanford Design School thinking process has 5 iterative levels or phases. What's worth noting here is that, yes, they are iterative, meaning that you can move from one to another freely. You can freestyle how you start and the way you do it, moving forward or backward, or from a point to another. But if you need to memorize it like this. The first step would be to empathize, meaning that you need to spend time empathizing with your end user, putting yourself in their shoes, feeling what they feel, living their experiences, to be able to finally come up with solutions or ideas that actually solve their problem. To do that, you can use methods like interviews, as easy as going to the person that you think is facing a problem and asking them questions. You can use methods like shadowing, which is very, very famous in spying spying movies. So shadowing would be just, following an end user or following a customer and seeing how they live their daily life for yourself. You can or live that experience by yourself. And then you can seek to understand, and you should be as non-judgmental as possible. Whatever they say, whatever they do, whatever they think, you should put all of your judgments and ideologies and thinking paradigms and mental models aside. You need to be neutral and absorb as much as possible. The next point would be to define. At this level, we're trying to define what the problem is. In the beginning, we had a vague idea, and now we need to define it. To be able to define any problem that you're facing, you can use methods like personas mapping, meaning that at this point, you need to define the persona of your end user. Who will be your end user? And we'll have an exercise eventually that will focus on personas mapping, so you understand more what is that about. You can play different types of challenges. You can focus, and you should focus, on the pain points of your end user. So what exactly in their journey are the pain points that would help you to define the problem best? If you say, for instance, that the problem is, say, climate action, that's probably the wrong way to go. If it's the ozone layer, that's a wrong way to go. If you say that the problem is that more and more people are getting diabetes, that's a wrong way to go. The right way to go would be to define who are those people, why are they getting diabetes, where do they live, their age range, what they see, feel, and happen to live like, and what exactly is the problem with them having diabetes. The third point would be to ideate. Now, this is the part where you need to be thinking about ideating new ideas. معناتها قلباً على قلب. It has idea in it. It's brainstorming new ideas. And to be able to do that, you need to, not censor yourself. Think of it as all ideas are worthy. Whatever comes to your mind, you need to jot it down immediately and don't take it away for any reason. You need to be able to share those ideas that you have, and again, get back to your end user and see what they think of it. The mindset that you'll be completely incorporating here is the diverge, then converge mindset, meaning that initially you need to be brainstorming as many ideas as you can, as many solutions as you can. No idea is stupid, no idea is unworthy, and all ideas should be there on paper. And then you should be converging. Then you should be thinking about the criteria upon which you're deciding about your next idea. Then, for instance, you need to see whether this idea is feasible, whether it's actually desirable, whether it answers the problem or not, whether it has an innovative element in it, etc., etc. And prioritize to end up with the one thing that you're going to prototype. So the fourth step would be prototyping. I cannot emphasize on this step enough, simply because I think throughout the years that I've been involved in Hult, the ideas that really make it are the ideas who have a prototype ready, whatever the prototype is, that they can convince the judges more once they have something to show them, something to make the idea more visible, more concrete, and more relatable. To prototype, you can use mockups, you can use storyboards. You need to keep it simple, really. No need to complicate it. No need to program an entire thing. You can do mockups if it's an app or if it's a website. And you need to iterate quickly. Your aim shouldn't be to make something fantastic fast. Your aim should be to fail fast, because the faster you fail, the better you move forward, the quicker you get back to the iterative process, to the ideation part, and the quicker you find a new idea or you prototype something better and you actually get it to market and become successful. And then the final phase is the testing phase. Now, at this level, you're testing with your end user or the personas that you identify, the people that you think are actually your end user. You go to them and you show them your product, as simple as that. And you see exactly what works, what they like in it, so that in the next version you keep it and you make it better. And you see what they don't like, their dislikes, and to make sure that you actually change that in your next version. You sometimes can use role-playing, meaning that you can bring anyone and actually tell them, this is the persona that I'm assuming is my end user. What do you think their reactions would be with regards to this product that I'm showing to you right now? You can make Facebook groups with people that you know and you think might be interested in your product, share the prototype with them and see what they think. And the idea again would be to iterate quickly. The faster they give you their feedback, the better you understand what your problem is and what your product needs to be enhanced, so that you can make that those enhancements quicker and faster. In a nutshell, this is design thinking according to Stanford Design School. This is the way you move forward with things. And it could be a business, it could be a product, and it could be anything in life, really. Anything in life, you can tackle it using these 5 steps and this specific methodology. Now, before I move forward, I want to know if you have any questions, because I'm quite sure this has been heavy.
We have our first question. الآخرين اللي يتابعوا فينا نجموا يكملوا يكتبوا لنا questions بتاعهم زيدا. So the first question is, how is design thinking different from project-based learning?
How is design thinking different from project-based learning?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm assuming there are not, to be honest, a lot of differences, except from at this point, we're not talking about a project. We're talking about anything and everything. We're talking about, in your case, a business product. And the difference would be that here, it's quite flexible, meaning that so what we would call, for instance, mentoring and evaluation, here we're talking more about testing and prototyping and customer feedback. And then the flow usually is faster than when you're dealing with a specific project management framework. What's different is that, for instance, if you're at the prototype, you can move back to the empathy, and then you can move forward to the test. These 5 steps are not in stone. They're not an in-place framework. There's something that flows. Wherever you are, you can move forward or backward and choose where you want to go. This is not something that you can do when you're dealing with a specific project management framework. The other point is that this is more flexible in the sense that we're dealing more with tools that are design inspired. So you would see less and less of business lingo and business jargon, and more of design jargon and design tools. You'll see them eventually. I'm going to move forward to that. But in a nutshell, I would say these are the 2 main differences. One is more business oriented, the second is more design oriented, and one is more of a linear process. This is more of an iterative process, meaning that you can move backwards, forwards, and the flow is pretty much free. Over.
D'accord. Donc, merci Haifa. We have a second question. Donc عزيز قال how to deal with the huge difference of results after the design thinking process.
A huge difference of results.
Results.
I don't understand the question. Can you please explain it more, Aziz?
D'accord. So, Aziz, please explain more the question. Le temps احنا نمشيو another question. Does design thinking work with all subject areas?
Yes, it does. Because again, it's a methodology, right? It's an approach. And it's an approach that you choose to apply or not. In most cases, applying it helps you move faster and better. But then again, it's not the only thing that you can apply. You can, again, use a huge set of innovation tools, like, for instance, futures thinking or horizon scanning or behavioral insights. There are plenty of tools, but this one proves to be very useful in business settings.
Thank you. So, Anna Ons قالت what you meant by personas is direct beneficiaries.
I'll get to an exercise on personas right after. So what you mean by personas هما the character that you create of your end user. So your end user تخلق له قصة، تخلق له صورة، وتحاول انك تحط روحك في شخصيته. Pretty much شخصيات، voilà، شخصيات تخلقها your end user. That's what we mean by persona.
So هما اللي بينيفيسير معناها نتاع
هما اللي بينيفيسير، اما انت تخلق لهم شخصيه. معناتها اللي بينيفيسير موجودين على ارض الواقع، هذوك نخليهم نعرفوهم ونحاولوا نخلقوا لهم شخصيه using a design tool called empathy map تنجيوها من بعض.
guys اللي في الزوم تنجموا you can unmute yourself وتسألوا سؤال كان عندكم.
عزيز ما عبرش أكثر.
عزيز قاعد يكتب توا قال if we get two solutions or more how to choose the most efficient one.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're talking more about the ideation process. Donc الفازة الثالثة اللي هي ideate. In ideation قلنا you should first try to think of as many solutions as possible. At this stage, we're not talking about solutions, we're talking about ideas. خاطر ما تستيناهمش، ما بروتوتيناهمش، ما شفناهمش whether they're actually effective على أرض الواقع ولا لا. But the way to do it is to try to prioritize one depending مثلا على الكريتير اللي انت تعرفهم your judging committee are going to use in Hult مثلا. If you know these criteria, you can start by prioritizing using this. Another way that I usually use إنه it's the three كنت تفكروا كاللي trois cercles هذوكم. You can see أولاً if the idea is feasible, technically feasible، كان أنت والإكيب متاعك والعباد اللي تعرفهم تنجموا you make it وإلا لا by yourselves. لهنا راهو we're assuming you don't get the money مع ما ربحتوش ما عندكم حد شيء. اسكو تنجموا وحدكم تقدوها وإلا لا technically. The technical aspect of it. The second one هي desirability or the desirability. إلى أي مدى end user متاعك اللي أنت حددته wants to use your product ولا your idea. إلى أي مدى there's a desire to try it out. ولا إلى أي مدى هي بالحق it's solving a problem. خاطر 99% of the times we're creating the problems in our heads just because we're in love with the solution. That's usually how our human brains work. And the third part would be the economical viability. إلى أي مدى l'idée اللي عندك أنت توا sur papier would be economically viable. وقديش تستحق to be economically viable. وشنو هما the compromises اللي أنت you and your team need to make to be able to make it survive. الفكرة. لهنا again in this setting, in this paradigm, ربحتوا الفلوس نتاع Hult. لا everything is going perfectly for you. انتم ما زلتوا في نفس الفاز انتم موجودين فيها. You're still students, you have an idea. Can you or can you not make it work باللي عندكم? Usually this is this could take out and eliminate most of the ideas. من بعد يقعد لك الحل الثاني اللي هو move fast and fail fast and iterate. try to have a prototype quickly, try to test it on your end customers. كان عجبهم مرحبا نجموا نكملوا ونحسنوا، كان ما عجبهمش we move back to another idea. Over.
D'accord. Kalsoum, she asked question في الchat متاعنا. قالت how do we know that we need to stop testing and that's the product and that the product is final.
Well, من الأول باش تعمل أنت bien sûr un groupe un échantillon تاع عباد that you're gonna test on، مش باش تستي على عباد الكل. ومن بعد النقطة الثانية اللي هي it's a bit interesting اللي هو the testing and the prototyping and the end product never exists in a way shape or form. Let's look back على البرودوي اللي توجدوا في الدنيا الكل. Let's look back at Zoom. Zoom عامل تالي ما كانش هيك. Zoom they had to reiterate and to readjust their product مع الكوفيد. iPhones كل عام عندك نو ايفون، مع العلم اللي they don't actually need a parallel competition، معناها they way ahead in competition but they iterate every single year to bring up a new final product every single year. Look, for me, my answer would be your product is never final. Your product is ever after a work in progress. And that's why CEOs never retire pretty much. Bon, لهنا باش يكون عندك deadline اللي هو الوقت الهالت competition. I'm not saying اقعد iterate and forget about the deadline. You need to have a presentable, let's say, product, but prototype. I am assuming you won't be able to have a product. A prototype by the Hult competition. ومن بعديك if you win, well, if you're interested in moving forward with it, you keep iterating. Other questions?
Normalement, nope.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
So Rihab قالت how can we keep prototypes basic and simple for complex projects?
Okay, so complex projects اللي you can't actually make معناتها physical prototype اللي يشبه ولا يخدم ولا is functional. What you can do is mock-ups. Mock-ups mainly هما a way to visualize the end product. وكهو تنجم تكون تصويره drawing تقول هاو منين باش يدخل من عشان x هاو الانبوت هاو الاوتبوت هاو الفانكشنينغ كيفاش باش يتخدم الداخل. ينجم يكون a mock-up of an app دونك جست تصور الواير فريمينغ نتاع الابليكاسيون هذيك كيفاش باش تجي، وين باش يدخل العبد، وين باش يخرج، شنو باش ياخذ، كيف ينزل كذا كيف ينزل كذا كيف ينزل كذا. ويب سايتس there are tools كيما wix.com ينجموا يعاونوكم you make a website for free just to show it to the judges. This is what I have on top of my head توا. If we're talking about very heavy engineering related project كما قلت لك just a drawing اللي العباد نجم تفهم بيها البروسيس كيفاش باش يصير.
Thank you هيفا. دونك نورمالمون نجمو نكملو. There is
Okay.
no other questions.
Great. نحن 7:30 هكا ولا نجمو نطولوا شوية بعد 7:30؟
I think نجمو نطولوا شوية كان ما كملتش.
We're talking about 10 minutes مش أكثر.
أي مثال شوفت بعد إذا participants I don't think they do mind معناها.
Great. So in a nutshell, to sum up the entire presentation part of the training, design thinking help you cater to your end user better and more efficiently. A picture that I usually like explaining how we can be really in our heads sometimes, figuring out and thinking about solutions that mean nothing to the end user. هي التصويرة هذه. As you can see, the municipality of this city did what it had to do. It created طريقة ثنية للعباد اللي normalement يمشيوا لها. Or que it was not the most efficient way. It was not the most desirable way. And people felt the need انهم يقطعوا بطريقة diagonal because that's faster, because that's better for them. Even if it means نوعا ما تشويه المنطقة هذيك. And so in a way, shape or form, if العباد ولا the municipality decision makers, the designers that made this design real, spend some time understanding more the patterns and the journeys of their end users, راهم فيقوا وحدهم اللي هما they actually prefer to take that way rather than الطريق اللي هما قدوه. So in a picture, this is my favorite. I think it explains a lot of what I try to say by words. And now, before I move forward and end this session, I want to walk you through an exercise. اللي هو it's an empathy map that helps you understand your personas better and help you put yourselves in the empathy mindset that you need to be put at when you're applying this approach to your entrepreneurial journey. Donc, I'm sharing with you now a link. I need to make sure. Donc, invite link board and team can edit. Team access board edit. Perfect. I'm gonna copy the link in the Zoom call. ومن بعد AM Nash Harir are going to share it with everyone. To the person who asked, is it like UX? Yes, it's very similar to UX. UX is user interface, user experience design, and it's pretty much a derivative of design thinking. Design thinking is just تخمم فيها كاليكول الأم that has all of the design-inspired methodologies that are business-oriented underneath it, including UX and UI.
So the user experience هي based على approach بتاع design thinking.
Yes. User experience design, yes. Same for user interface design. Am I getting everyone in here or سهلة العملية ولا لقيتوها صعيبة؟ تنجم تدخلوا guest users. WeAim is here, fantastic. In the meanwhile, باش نجمو we move fast and on time. I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm expecting your answers. شكون العبد اللي العبد ينجم يكون معناتها شخصية celebrity, famous person, probably في الدومين هذايا باش كنا we can relate to him or her, that you find yourselves and empathizing with, or you find it extremely difficult for you to empathize with. شكون الشخصية اللي you despise وما تنجموش تتعاطفوا معاها، تحسوا رواحكم ما تنجموش تتعاطفوا معاها.
الشخصية يعني وصف للشخصية؟
أو ينجم يكون وصف للشخصية كما ينجم يكون اسم. I had a Donald Trump before. We worked with Donald Trump. It was good.
بالنسبة لي أنا العبد اللي ما نجمش نكون معاه empathetic باش نعطي معناها description فهمت persona يعني مش نقول على اسم معين.
Let's start with your persona وكن نتفقوا على الحكاية نجموا move forward with it. أي؟
أوكي. دونك فما العبد اللي يبدأ مثلا كيش نقولوها هي يعني جوست يحب يعمل البوز وما فماش معناتها يعني يبدا يعمل حاجه جوست باش يخلق بوز وعبيد تحكي عليه الفي انتريسون فوالا معناها مش ما عندوش معناتها كلير فاليوز يمشي بيهم في حياته والعبد اللي يبدا معناتها very arrogant ولا هذوما الزوز
هما عادة they come together هذوما الزوز. goods. دونك عنا عبيد قتلك كثوم قتلك عايشة عطية ويظهر it falls perfectly into what you described WeAim. مع خالص احتراماتي to her fans. وعندك رائد قالك محمد بن عمار اللي أنا honestly I don't know who he is الحق. Donc, I think we can go مع persona that you described, assuming اللي the other descriptions fall into it. The idea behind an empathy map Canva is that it helps you empathize with your persona. Bien sûr في الحالة متاعكم انتوما the persona is the character you created اللي يعبر على end customer متاعكم end user اللي باش يستعمل البرودوي متاعكم. In this case نحن assuming إنه we're catering to the needs متاع عباد اللي هما they're arrogant and they're into the showbiz and they love to have the buzz a lot. Donc I'm going to move forwards and use the stickers لهنا. Donc who are we empathizing with? كيفاش نجم نعبر عليهم؟ Arrogance. And excuse my language. What do they need to do? What do they need to do? We're asking ourselves questions like, what do they do differently? What jobs do they want or need to get done? What decision do they need to make? And how we will know if they were successful. Donc في الحالة هذية, by the way, we're not thinking من مخنا نحن, we're thinking من مخهم هما العباد هذوما اللي they're interested in the business, in the business show, نلقاهم ياسر في البلاتو متاع Trust TV اللي they're always talking about everything and nothing. What do they need to do? Or how do they perceive themselves as successful people? What jobs do they need to get done? عندكم حلين لهنا. العباد اللي موجودين على البورد ينجموا يدخلوا طول يحطوا ستيكرز، والعباد اللي تحب تحكي معايا تنجم تحكي معايا، والعباد اللي تحب تكتب في كومنتات تكتب في كومنتات. سن اوبن شو، اعملوا اللي تحبوا. Here, and I'm gonna say they need to get famous. Probably they're chasing fame, assuming. With fame comes they need to create a controversy. That's how they know they're successful. I would say they probably want followers. لحظة بركة، ما تحركوليش الوحدة يعيشكم. لحظة بركة.
Just une question, Haifa. What do they need to do معناها what do they want to do?
Exactement. What do they need to do to be able to be successful? في نظرهم هما again لهنا ما نش نخمو من منظورنا نحن. Great. نجموا نتعداو للسؤال اللي بعده. By the way, this is just an exercise to show you some of the design thinking tools that you can use. We don't have to fill it all. We feel free to ask any questions you have. The next question that we need to answer is what do they hear? Donc شنو يسمعوا عادة في حياتهم اليومية في الانتوراج متاعهم في الفيس يسمعوا في الفيسبوك، في الفيديوهات على الفيسبوك، في الانستغرام، في اليوتيوب. What do they hear? أي حاجة فيها sound that goes to their ears شنو هي حسب رأيكم again.
Maybe compliments?
Probably a lot of compliments. That's a good point. Next book, compliments. أما نتصور كيما يسمعوا compliments كيما يسمعوا سبين.
Surely, yes.
Okay. Probablement يسمعوا الهيت ويقول لك haters are gonna hate.
Yes, نسكن غادي منهم.
عين الحسود فيها عود و What else do they hear? فين يعيشوا عادة؟ دونك في الانتوراج نتاعهم ولا الكوميونيتي نتاعهم ولا عائلتهم حسب رأيكم شنو يسموا؟
نجمو encouragement من عائلتهم ولا من صحابهم.
Encouragement, okay. And I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna say they might be living in hyped up neighborhoods في تونس. Donc they might be hearing a lot of French. In this case, just to show you why the empathy map is important. خاطر if we assume اللي هما they hear a lot of French, that says a lot about the ways we need to market our product. كان هما the end beneficiary of the product. It means that we need to focus on French as a language. ما نكتبوش بالانجلي ولا بالعربي، ما نحكيش بالانجلي ولا بالعربي. What else do they hear? Okay. Let's move a bit forward على what do they hear. نتعداو اللي what do they see.
bullying قالوا لك.
في الhearing bullying.
Yes.
Okay, I'll write bullying here. وخمولي في what do they see en parallèle. في الانتوراج متاعهم I would say they see fancy stuff in general. It could be fancy cars, it could be fancy houses, it could be fancy clothes, designer clothes إلى آخره. أنا نتخيل فيهم again معناتها لي رابور هذوكم the bimbo TV presenters اللي récemment كبروا في ولو عنا منهم برشا في تونس. So that's what I'm setting my head at. Donc I'm trying to imagine الشخصية هذيك شنو قاعدة تشوف في حياتها اليومية. Great. Donc we have شنو؟
Maybe other famous people in the same neighborhood.
Yes, that could be it. They're probably living in their own bubble. I'm just right here a bubble. Par contre, we need to dig deeper البابل هذيك شنو فيها بالضبط if they're going to be our end users. ونحن we can move forward to the next question اللي هي what do they say? What comes out of their mouths?
A lot of French.
A lot of French, that's true. وساعات الفرنش مكسر حتى كان جاي فرنش لبس عليه.
Showing off, yes.
Some of them العباد اللي surtout récemment مع البوز نتاع اللي عملتها عايشة عطية في with the entire pregnancy thing, I feel like they restore the same paradigms or the same mindsets عم يخرجوهم بلغة أخرى. معناتها they're pretty much reiterating نفس الحاجات اللي نفس التقاليد البالية نوعا ما. معناتها نفس المايندسيت أما يزيدوها شوية كلمات براقة هنا وهناك and it sounds different.
Yes, totally. دعاء قتلك بلا بلا بلا. Yes. I think it's a good point.
Okay, no, I'll just write blah blah blah. Blah blah blah.
زي فما معناها تابعة الشوينج اوف يبداو ديما متقلقين ومنرفزين على أقل حاجة just to emphasize معناها على السوجي اللي يبداو يحكيو فيه. معرفش كيش نقولها هذايا معناها بالانجلي.
aggressive behavior.
Yeah.
Aggressive behavior.
إيه قالت they criticize.
They do. مايلو criticism. Great. Okay. نتعداو للمرحلة القادمة اللي هي what do they do. They come on TV a lot, definitely. They come on TV. Oh, they do a lot of stories. Surprisingly, a lot. They're surprisingly active on social media. Very active on social media. And
They talk or they share about stuff from their private life.
yep. We have they play the victims. Cool. Yes, and they go to shows wearing controversial stuff for buzz. Absolutely. Great. And then to be able to finish up with our empathy map, it's important إنه we dig deeper into two things. أول حاجة, their pains, وثاني حاجة, their gains. When we're talking about their pains, we're trying to understand what are their fears, what are their frustrations, what are their anxieties, شو ما الحاجات اللي تخوفهم، شو الحاجات تخليهم لا ينامون الليلة، فيما يفكرون، ما الذي يخشون. Anna, I would throw here and I would say losing their fame, becoming irrelevant,
وزيدا هيك معناها نتصور العباد هذوما they care more about numbers دونك معناها يبداو خايفين حتى لو كان مثلا معرفش they lose their Instagram accounts ولا ما عادش برشا follower ولا يتنحوا لهم برشا followers.
That could be it. Can write it down. Don't lose their followers base, lose their followers. إلخ. توا what are their gains؟ شو ما أحلامهم؟ شو ما طموحاتهم؟ شو ما their hopes؟ What do they need؟ نجم يكونوا the opposite of their pains, by the way. هو technically they are. I would say money, and again fame. I think is a thing that's very important to them. Okay, so now سيدتي, we finished our empathy map. This is what's called an empathy map, and this is what helps you define your personas better so that you can move forward to other stages. دونك نرجعوا لهنا باش نقول لكم بالضبط l'exercice هذايا where it falls with defining your personas. That's exactly what you should do when you're trying to define your personas. And some people also use it at the empathy phase. Donc من الأول بالكل وقت اللي عندك a vague idea of who are the people that you want to help, ولا you want to cater to their needs, you can use it to try to empathize with them more. And now, before we close up all of this, I want to show you some other exercises that you can practice by yourselves eventually وقت اللي يبدأ عندكم الوقت ومش ساعة ونص to apply the design thinking approaches on your idea. You can go to www.diytoolkit.com. That's a toolkit that's completely inspired from design thinking that has been designed by Nesta, which is an innovation foundation in the United Kingdom, one of the most famous ones. All what you have to do is to go to find your tool and choose what you need to do exactly. Donc, I'm assuming the upcoming days, some of you have ideas, some of you are still thinking of ideas, some of you want to prototype, some of you want to test and improve, some of you want to collect inputs from others إلى آخره. Donc, the needs that you're going to have eventually following الخمسة نقاط or the 5 steps that we explained earlier ينجموا يكونوا très variés. لهنا نجموا نختاروا مثلا generate new ideas for those of you who don't have an idea yet. You'll find a variety of ideas that can of tools that can help you generate better ideas. مثلا the fast idea generator, which is one of my favorite. نجموا here we just check it out super fast. The fast idea generator has different approaches باش انتي تنجم تخرج بأفكار more innovative than the ideas that you initially have. مثلا one of the approaches is inversion. You have to turn a common practice upside down. The normal rule يقولك مثلا هو the doctors trust patients. وقت اللي انتي باش تقلبها using inversion بالسؤال اللي باش تسأله لروحك هو what if patients become doctors. Using this tool can help you brainstorm and ask different questions ما كنتش عادة باش تخمم فيهم وإلا باش تسألهم. Another thing that you can use مثلا here let's see know the people I'm working with. لهنا مثلا تلقاو personas. ولهنا باش يسألك أسئلة كما الأسئلة اللي سألناهم نحن في الامباثي ماب. دونك الأسئلة باش يكونوا شكون هو العبد باش تلقى له حل، علاش they going to engage with you، علاش they're not or they might not engage with you، شنو هو l'environnement social نتاعهم، شنو هو their dreams، شنو هما their skills، البيرسوناليتي نتاعهم، les intérêts إلى آخره إلى آخره. وبالتالي if there is one thing that I think would be very useful to you getting out of this training, it would be this website. ببساطة على خاطر les exercices sont très basiques مش صعب و all what you have to do is to know exactly what you want. تسأل السؤال الصحيح في find your tool and they'll give you an infinity of tools that you can use to come out with the right answers. بهذا أكون أنا شخصياً ختمت my training. So thank you so much everyone for being here, for staying here ولو إن exactly 11 minutes خارج الوقت. You can feel free to reach out to me on haifasdiri@gmail.com or my LinkedIn or my Twitter. And I hope that was interesting and engaging for you. Over. And if you have any questions.
Thank you very much هيفا. بالحق session تعديت ياسر محلاها and it was very fruitful. surtout معناتها بالليس application و some of the games اللي عملناهم. دونك فما ان ديكالاج متاع دقيقة هذاك علاش معناتها فما شكون سأل ديجا كيستيون قبل. Est-ce qu'on peut reprendre la question هيفا ديجا خاطرها عندها برشا.
Bien sûr.
So Sarah Mansour قالت when we should exactly use the empathy map.
Okay, so as I said, you can use the empathy map من الأول بالكل to try to يبدأ عندك فكرة نوعا ما vague على شكون العبد the end customer متاعك في empathizing step وتحاول إنك تستعملها باش تساغن أكثر لكاركترستيك متاع your end user. دونك منعش أنا من الأول نقول my end user هو تلميذ تونسي. بعديكا جو ساغن أكثر هالتلميذ التونسي هذايا شكونه بالضبط، شنيا طموحاته، شنو هو their pains، شنو هو their gains، شنو هو يسمع، شنو هو يشوف. تلميذ تونسي في جندوبة مش كما تلميذ تونسي في تونس. دونك غادي كنحدد أكثر كانوا في تونس شنو هو يسمع وشنو هو يشوف مختلف على شنو يسمع شنو يشوف في جندوبة إلى آخره. دونك the empathy map تستعملها من الأول to empathize. نجم تعاود تستعملها من بعد دونك كيف ترجع to define better your end persona in the second step اللي هي define. ولكن الغاية منها عموما هو انك تفهم اكثر شكون الكاستمر متاعك وشنو هي احتياجاته.
Amazing. Thank you very much. So ما عادش كيف ما شكون آخر عنده question وإلا آية are you here?
وإم كنت نجم you check الماسنجر على خاطر I have an internet connection problem.
It's okay. توا بالنسبة للماسنجر ما فما حتى حد معناتها حط كيستيون كيف لهنا في اليوتيوب ولو انه فما ديكالاج متاع دقيقة كما قلت لكم. So I think there is no more questions. بالنسبة للجماعة اللي حاضرين توا معانا كان عندكم دي كيستيون نجموا معناتها جوف تحكيو يعني تحلوا المايك ولا تحطوا هنا في chat box. Okay, so again, thank you very much هيفا. بالحق يعيشك على الآخر. أنا عندي توا question bon هي مش related برشا للdesign thinking أما related لليوث in general. So شنية معناتها your advices to us as youth باش نجمو و to our competitors of course باش نجمو معناتها ننجحو في أي بروجي نخدمو فيه وإلا في أي حاجة في أي بروجي qu'on entreprend. Voilà.
Wow, that's a deep question. هو بصراحة معناتها نفس الحاجة اللي باش ننصح بيها العباد ننصح بيها روحي خاطر after all it's where I am today. حتى أنا بيدي معناتها حاليا I'm asking a lot of questions about what I do and what I want to head and existential questions in general, which I think is a good thing. It's نرجع لك iterative process. Whenever you need to keep asking questions and seeing adjusting and enhancing your life better. But بصراحة personally I would say feel free to try things that are different, that make absolutely no sense. I'm personally not very into the idea of, a stable career and a stable skill set. I'm more into flexibility, and I believe that people can really succeed in different things and different domains. Like for me, I would say this is the age for us to try different things. And to see to what point we can actually succeed in different things and we can enjoy different things بغض النظر على our studies وبغض النظر على what we graduated with وبغض النظر على our diploma and what society tells us to do. This is the one thing at least اللي أنا كنت نقوله روحي من اللي عمري 16 سنة. And I think it's working out so far. I'm not sure. ما زلت work in progress in ABD.
Yep, I really share the same mindset. حتى أنا معناها pour le moment ديما نقول معناتها نجرب برشا حاجات وسورسو معناها at least حتى كان مثلا ما يعرفونيش نعرف شنو من الحاجات اللي أنا ما نحبهمش ولا ما نحبش نعملهم في الفيوتشر باش هكاكا معناتها نزيد نجرب حاجات أخرين and I explore more things about myself. So guys فما question أخرى sinon we will end the call. So there is nothing on Messenger, nothing on YouTube.
Okay, we aim just before we close, please. It would mean a lot if everyone gets back on Mentimeter and rates this session. surtout اللي ما فهمش أسئلة توا. It would help me a lot to know what you thought of it for the future. Your feedback really matters. Thank you so much.
Yes, sure. So باش نعاود نشري مع العباد الكل المنتيميتر وعنا نفس الكود. Perfect. Entre-temps, Hans قالت لك your methodology just amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. means a lot.
توا سي بون قاعدين معناتها ندخلوا على المنتي سو جوست فما ديكالاج كيما قلت لك هايفا هذاك علاش يعني فما ديكالاج متاع دقيقة دونك هذاك علاش معناتها باش يمكن باش تاخذ شوية وقت.
No problem at all. That's all on my side. كان تحبوا you end up كان فما other questions feel free and I finished. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you very much. نكملوا نعملوا هذايا المنتيميتر أو المنتيميتر ولا أو ميم طون إذا كان فما عبد معناها عنده كيسيون طال يحطها نقولها لك سينو من بعد توا إلى 49 دونك ماكسيموم تاعنا باش يكون 53 داكوغ.
Just I have a feedback. سام.
Yes please yes go ahead.
لا فيدباك يعني خاطر تو حضرت لك مرتين يعني هذه ومرة قبل في يوث سبيك يعطيك الصحة وهم يعني اللي حضرت فيهم الزوز مختلفين مع بعضهم ويعطيك الصحة بالحق يعني.
عايشك تفكرني في يو سبيك وقتاش شنو بالضبط؟
يوث سبيك في نابل عملاول.
ميرسي بوكو يعيشك
تو تذكرت خاطر قعدت نخمم بعد تو تذكرت.
يعيشك.
So كلثوم لهنا قالت لك sorry على حس الباك جراوند. So كلثوم قالت لك thank you so much it was so amazing. ونور قالت لك thank you هايفا it was really fruitful.
Thank you so much to you both. يعيشكم خاطركم فديتوش midway through وروحتوا ورقدتوا على رواحكم. Means a lot.
بالعكس it was really fruitful بالحق. It's my second time زيد أنا أحضر لك في design thinking. So the content is different. I feel like I learned new things في المرة هذه كل مرة تحس.
عايشك يا merci beaucoup. عايشك.
أنا بالحق هايفا I can't wait to see you in person من إن شاء الله بعد كوفيد إن شاء الله يوفى كوفيد because you are a very interesting person also إن شاء الله إذا كان معناها عملنا competition وتكون physically it's not sure but لو كان معناها صارت بالحق ماذا بيا لو كان نشوفوك معنا يعني as a special guest ولا حتى as a judge إذا كان معناها you are available.
يعيشك ريم it would be a pleasure.
So guys توا وصلنا officially معناتها لآخر سيسيون بالحق ميرسي بوكو للناس الكل اللي جات اليوم special thanks للإيفاي thank you very much إيفاي Technologies and also to our guest هايفا زديري. Guys مازالوا عنا d'autres sessions so إن شاء الله نقعد معناتها in touch الناس الكل و officially توا ما عادش فما حتى question أخرى جا هاني قاعدة نشوف فيهم so have a nice عش اللي قعد متضايق وغدوة كان باش تخرج غدوة just معناها keep the mask and I will give معناها كلمة الختام الهايفة وبعد إيه.
Thank you so much, عايشك بإيم. On my side, I wish you all the best. It has been بالحق a real pleasure. I know I said it a lot, but I really mean it. I hope to see you soon. نتمنى من صميمي قلبي إنه you make it to the regionals, one of you at least, and that you come out with the great ideas اللي يعبروا عليكم. You're all very interesting people, I'm quite sure.
Thank you so much, Haifa. We can't thank you enough. Thanks to our participants اللي مازالوا قعدوا معنا و they were super interested بالsession. So آخر حاجة كالعادة كيف نقولها لكم for those who have missed anything وإلا جست يحبوا يعاودوا يتفرجوا وإلا حتى اللي ما نجموش يحضروا من الأول ما حضروش تنجموا تعاودوا تتفرجوا في الريكوردينج على اليوتيوب ولا على إيباي. So voilà والبي بي تي نصورته هايفا تبعثها لي ونحطوه لكم في الإيفاي accounts في الإيفاي معناها تلقاها في الريسورسز. Voilà, merci beaucoup. Bonne nuit.
Bye bye, bonne nuit.
Bonne nuit. Bye bye.
Thank you guys. Bye bye.